So that was a pretty rough 43-34 loss. Wasn't good to watch, but Green Bay advances to 1-0 and 1-0 inside the division, while Minnesota will fall to both 0-1 in the categories. So Aaron Rodgers, he was 32 of 44. That is 73% for an 8.3 average, 4 touchdowns, so 4 score, and 0 interceptions. Wasn't sacked and had a passer rating of 127.5 and 364 yards on the day. Aaron Jones was their lead ball carrier. 16 carries, 66 yards, 4.1 average, and a score. Irvin was their second, 3 for 38. Jamal Williams, 7 for 21. Lazard, 1 for 19. Dillon, 2 for 14. And then Rodgers, 1 for 2. And then they have the 2 kneel downs, and those count. And it equals 32 carries for 158 yards, 4.9 average yards per carry, and a touchdown with their longest run of the day being 21 yards by Tyler Irvin. Now, the receivers had themselves a day as well. Devontae Adams was targeted 17 times, caught 14 of those balls for 156 yards, 2 scores, and 11.1 average with a long of 40. Valdez Scantling, 4 of 6 for 96 yards, 24 yards per average on catch, and a 45-yard long with a touchdown, and he should have had 2 more balls that he just straight up dropped. And then you have Alan Lazard, 4 for 4, 63 yards and a score with a long of 38. Jamal Williams, 4 for 4, 21 yards. DeGuara, 1 for 2, 12 yards. Aaron Jones was 4 for 6, but only 10 yards. And Tyler Irvin was 1 for 6. So, third down wise, they were 6 of 11. That's 55%. 50% in the red zone at 3 of 6. They were +1 in the turnover battle. The big one here, 41 minutes, 16 seconds for time of possession, and they had 6 penalties for 63 yards. Minnesota, Kirk was 19 of 25, so 76%, 259 yards, 10.4 average yards per attempt, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, was sacked twice, lost 11 yards on those sacks, and had a quarterback rating of 118.6. Running the ball, which is normally Minnesota's bread and butter, it was taken away pretty early because of the 41 minutes and 16 seconds of possession time by the Packers. Cook had 12 carries for 50 yards, 4.2 average, 2 scores, and also had 2 two-point conversions. Madison, 6 for 50. Kirk actually ran the ball quite a bit today at 4 for 34. So 22 carries for 134 yards, 6.1 average, and 2 touchdowns on the ground. Overall, not necessarily bad production there. And then in the receiving game, Thielen was their leading receiver at 6 for 8 for 110, 2 touchdowns, and an average of 18.3. BC Johnson, 3 for 4, 56 yards, 18.7 average. Madison, 4 for 4, 30. Rudolph, 2 for 2 and 28. Jefferson in his debut caught 2 of 3 balls for 26 yards. Irv, 1 for 1 for 11. And Sharp didn't catch his only target. And for Cook, he was targeted twice. He dropped 1, and when he dropped it, it really was out of hand. It didn't matter anymore, and he probably would have been taken down for a loss anyway. But he did catch 1 ball on a screen pass that got -2 yards. So, yeah, thought they would get that involved a little bit more. But they were 3 of 6 on third down percent. 3 of 6 on third downs for 50%. 3 of 4 in the red zone for 75%. They were -1 in the turnover battle. 18 minutes and 44 seconds time of possession, while being penalized 5 times for 20 yards. Now, we get to the notes. And offensively, it's actually a little hard to judge it due to the 18 minutes and 44 seconds of time of possession, which is kind of rough. I can't really blame them for that. And personally, I thought the line played much better in this matchup than they did last year in either game. And it was kind of nice to see Kirk move around the pocket some more. I do think that did help the line quite a bit, because even when things broke down, it looked like Kirk was kind of willing to move. It was kind of nice in that respect. And Thielen seemed just fine despite not having Diggs. It seemed like he was fine. And when given opportunities, Dalvin still looked like Dalvin. And I think with the guard play looking a lot better, It would have been a lot more interesting to see what this offense could have done had they not fallen behind the 8 ball in time of possession so quickly. And one thing I would like to mention when it comes to the offense, the halftime decision to actually kind of go for it when I think there was 39 seconds left in the half, it was really Kirk's one bad throw of the day. It did get intercepted, and if you kind of just run the clock, kneel down, whatever it may be, you go down 15-7. Now, what that ended up happening was they were down 22-10 at halftime, which is not good. So I would have preferred to see them just do that. Even when I was watching the game, I was like, why aren't they running the clock? It kind of confused me. And yeah, I think that might have been a point where you could have said they lost the game. But at the same time, you can come back from 22-10. It's not impossible. I mean, not ideal, of course, but it's not impossible. And what did make it impossible was the fact that the defense did not look good at all. There was nothing going. There was no rush, and it was creating a lot of opportunities for Green Bay's receivers against those young, inexperienced corners. And tackling Aaron Jones seemed to be a different problem. Tackling wasn't really happening when he had the ball. And it seemed like they were really susceptible to all those rocket sweeps, all those jet sweep kind of motions going back and forth. They really struggled with that, and the perimeter rush suffered, I think, a lot more than the interior rush because of it. Because even if you look at it, you have Alan Lazard running for a 19-yard gain. Irvin had one for 21 yards. Like, it seemed like a lot of their chunk plays in the ground were actually coming from those misdirection sweep kind of plays, and you can't have that because for the most part Aaron Jones at 16 carries for 66 yards, 4.1 and a touchdown. For as good as he is, he's a really good back. I like him as a player, and I think that's probably as good as you could really hope for, especially considering what we are fielding right now. So I don't really think it was an Aaron Jones problem entirely, but they just got everyone involved in the run game, and Minnesota did not have much of an answer for it when it came to perimeter rushing. So, yeah, and there was a lot to fix here because nothing went right. I think the most surprising thing was the fact they had absolutely no pass rush with Danielle Hunter, because I know Yannick Ngakoue was kind of on a pitch count of sorts because, he basically practiced for 2 weeks before he played in a game. But at the same time, nothing? That really surprised me that they got nothing considering where Green Bay's offensive line is sitting. And yeah, just nothing went right on the defensive side. If you want to point at anything like, oh, it went wrong because of that, I couldn't argue you. It was that bad. If you think it was something else, it was something else. Because everything was horrible. And just overall, I think it's hard to blame the offense, really, because the two big mistakes on the offensive side of the ball, I think, can be kind of pinned onto coaching decisions. Because I already went over the halftime thing, and then the other one was probably the safety early in the game that really kind of changed momentum entirely. Because keep in mind, Minnesota was up 7-3 at the time, and they just stopped Green Bay on a 4th and goal. So they just got the ball back, and they do one run play, and then you do a play action fake, and down goes Kirk Cousins for a safety in the end zone. And I even remember watching that part. I was like, right when that happened, I almost felt like this is going to be a safety. I didn't trust it, and there we have it. I thought, if they did a play action fake, that was almost guaranteed, and they did it, and look what happened. So I think the two biggest errors can be pointed onto coaching decisions for the most part, even though I still think Kirk shouldn't have thrown that ball, or at least have gotten a better throw on that ball when he threw the interception right before half. But overall, I can't really blame the offense when you only have 18 minutes and 44 seconds of time of possession, while Green Bay has 41 minutes and 16. If your defense is on the field that much, it is ridiculously hard to do anything offensively, because all of a sudden you have no rhythm, you really don't have anyone in any kind of groove, anything like that. And we really don't know much about this offense due to this now. Even after one game, like there's really no idea what this thing is supposed to look like because that one drive looked pretty good before everything kind of hit the fan, but it is what that is. Now, for as bad as this game was, try not to completely overreact and just kind of go, well, there it is. We're 2-14. I don't think that's necessarily true, because for one, this is the first time a lot of those young corners got onto the field for Minnesota. I think Holton Hill and Hughes probably had pretty rough days, and they are the two that didn't. I think Dantzler had some rough times as well. Gladney, I didn't see him much in the game in general, but they now at least have some kind of film to look at, like some kind of game film to look at, and potentially correct these problems. Where without the preseason games, those did not exist. Whatever problems they had going into this, and I think we saw that. And I think another reason just not to necessarily overreact. Minnesota did have a bad opening day loss that was completely embarrassing one other time under Zimmer, and that was in 2015. Now they did end up rebounding and going 11-5, won the division that year. So we've seen, a lot of the key guys actually stay in Minnesota from years on years. So a lot of those same coaches are actually kind of there on the defensive side, and I'm not saying they're going to go 11-5, win the division. I'm not going to say that's going to repeat itself, but I'm just saying we have seen them rebound from this before. So I kind of am more curious not curious. I'm not going to hit the panic button until I see this multiple weeks in a row, whether that's happening next week against the Colts or the week after that against the Titans. If we're seeing a lot of similar things, I think that's when we get a lot more concerned. And I would like to know your guys' thoughts and comments down below. Like and subscribing, super helpful. And until next time, I bid y'all adieu.